What's going on, everybody? Cleepus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a quick comparison between the Motorola Moto G 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. Now, as always, before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you want to learn more about either of these phones individually, I will be linking to several other videos about them in the description, as well as some information about pricing and availability. But with that being said, let's get into it. So with the Moto G 5G, we're getting a 6.5-inch 90Hz IPS LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and an 81.4% screen-to-body ratio. With the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we're getting a 6.5-inch 90Hz PLS TFT display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and an 81.1% screen-to-body ratio. So overall, these phones are pretty much the same as far as displays go, and while they're not the best looking displays out there, for only being 720p displays, they do look pretty decent, and at 6.5 inches, both phones are large enough to give you a good experience when you're consuming content. Now, as far as storage goes, with the Moto G 5G, we're getting 256GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is getting 64GB with microSD card expansion as well. So clearly here between the two, the Moto G 5G does have a huge advantage with quadruple the storage of the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. So if you're more of a power user, if you have a lot of apps and stuff like that, then the Moto G 5G will definitely be a better choice here. But if you're really more of a light user, if you don't have a whole lot of apps, and maybe you just have a couple photos and videos and stuff like that, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G will at least be okay. And remember, both phones also do have microSD card expansion, and this is great if you want to offload stuff like photos and videos. Now for security features, both phones do have fingerprint scanners, and they're in the same exact spot right here on the power keys. Definitely a great spot for a fingerprint scanner, makes the phones real convenient to unlock. And aside from the fingerprint scanners, both of these phones have face unlock as well. But starting with the Moto G 5G, let's go ahead and give these fingerprint scanners a try and see how well they work. There we go, one more time. And there we go. And moving on to the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see there, both fingerprint scanners worked real well. And again, remember, in addition to the fingerprint scanners, both phones have face unlock as well. So if you want to use that instead, you always can. Now taking a look at the camera setups here, with the Moto G 5G, we got a hole punch design for the front facing camera, and this camera is 13 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. With the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we got a water drop notch for the front facing camera. This camera is 5 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a triple camera setup as well with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So in general, these phones have pretty much the exact same camera features, and as far as quality goes, you're really not going to see a huge difference between the two. But that being said, while neither of these phones are going to be anywhere near as good as a flagship phone, if you're more of a casual camera user and you don't need a bunch of fancy features and you're just taking a couple photos here and there, maybe for Instagram or something, and you don't want the camera to be terrible, but at the same time you don't need it to be super high end, in that situation, you're really not going to go wrong with either of these phones. Now for video, both of these phones have a max recording quality of 1080p at 30 frames per second in both the rear and front cameras. And when it comes to the video quality, they're really nothing special. Sure, if you're recording videos for Snapchat or something where the quality doesn't really matter a whole lot, these phones will get the job done, but keep in mind, neither of them really have great audio quality, and the image in general when you're recording videos isn't the best either. So if you're doing something like vlogging, YouTube, or really anything where you actually want to keep the video for something, then I would suggest considering a higher end device with better video quality. But again, in general, for more casual use, the video quality on both of these phones will at least be okay. As far as RAM and processor go, with the Moto G 5G, we're getting 6GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor. With the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we're getting 4GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor as well. Now I ran Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both of these phones, and as you can see here, despite again having the exact same processor, there is a bit of a difference between the two. With the Moto G 5G, we're getting a single core score of 545 and a multi-core score of 1684, and with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we're getting a single core score of 460 and a multi-core score of 1099. Now first of all, keep in mind, they're not really going to be at completely different levels or anything, but that being said, the Moto G 5G will be significantly faster for daily activities, like browsing the web, using social media, stuff like that. So if you're on your phone a lot, you are going to notice a difference there. But that being said, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, while not being quite as fast as the Moto G 5G, is still not really a slow phone. And if you're more of a light user, again, if you're using your phone for more basic activities like web browsing, social media, that kind of thing, and you're not really going to be on your phone all the time, while the Moto G 5G is faster, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G will at least least get the job done. Now when it comes to the battery, these phones are pretty much the same. With the Moto G 5G, we're getting a 5000 mAh battery that supports 10-watt fast charging, and with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, this phone has a 5000 mAh battery as well that supports 15-watt fast charging. So again, pretty much the same battery specs here. Both of them are going to get great battery life and longevity, so if battery life is important to you, you're really not going to go wrong with either of these phones. And as far as charging speeds go, despite the fast charging with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G being 5 watts higher, both of these phones do have pretty decent charging speeds, and at this level, you're really not going to see a huge difference between them. But again, if you're looking for a phone with a good battery, both of these phones are going to be great options. Another thing to keep in mind here is that with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we are getting NFC, so if you like to make contactless mobile payments using tap and pay, you can do that with this phone, whereas with the Moto G 5G, unfortunately, this phone does not have NFC, so if using tap and pay is important to you, then the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G will have an advantage. But in conclusion, which of these phones is better? In general, these phones are the same in so many different ways, but each of them does have its own advantages. Overall, if you want more storage and a slightly faster processor, the Moto G 5G will be a better choice here, but if you want NFC, I know contactless mobile payments are becoming more and more widely used, and that feature is important to a lot of people, so if you are one of those people, and you really do want a phone with NFC, then of course the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G will be the way to go. In general, if I had to choose, I feel like the Moto G 5G for most people is going to be the better choice here, because it has so much more storage, and the processing power is significantly better here, and in pretty much every other way besides the NFC, these phones have pretty much the same features. But that being said, again, if you do want NFC, then the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is still going to be a great choice for you, and in general, when it comes to features and overall performance, these phones are really so similar that if you can find a really good deal on one and not the other, then that one is probably going to be the most worth it for you. But at the end of the day, despite their differences, both phones are great devices that provide quite a bit of value for the money. But this concludes my comparison between the Motorola Moto G 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about either of these phones individually, I will be linking to several other videos about them in the description, as well as some information about pricing and availability, because this is always changing. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Khalipa's Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.